Hello and welcome to the Pack Rosa Buffalo Bills podcast. And today we'll be discussing what everyone is discussing this time of year. It's the NFL Draft in Nashville, Tennessee, which is very interesting. I always wanted to go to Nashville, and it's awesome that they're going to have the NFL Draft there. So for the Buffalo Bills this year, this is obviously a draft that is not as big as last year. Obviously, last year all the talk was about them training up for a quarterback, which they eventually did by drafting Josh Allen. And then we found out that they went back into the first round and drafted a linebacker named Tremaine Edmonds. So after a great draft by the Bills last year, they come into this year and with really, if they can have a good draft, that can really get them over the hump and into playoff contention this year. So obviously the Bills have some needs to improve their team, and I think the first big need that they have right now that they could strike with the number 9 pick is defensive tackle, and there's great defensive tackles available as the Bills get ready for that number 9 pick. Obviously, the big name and the one guy that I really want the Bills to have is Ed Oliver. I think he could be a really good player in this league. He has the size, the disruptive force to be a great player. He can really shed blocks really well. I have even seen him get in the backfield with double teams in front of him. So if Ed Oliver is there for the number 9 pick, I think you get him. You rush to that podium, and Ed Oliver is your new Buffalo Bill. Now, will he get all the way to 9? We don't know. I have heard some reports that the New York Jets are looking at Ed Oliver for the number 3 pick, which I would understand, but if Josh Allen is there, the linebacker from Kentucky, he would be a much better choice than Ed Oliver for them. So if Ed Oliver slides all the way down to 9, I think that's the Bills' pick. But let's say he is not, which there could be a case where he won't be. Obviously, there's Quinnen Williams, who will probably go before the Bills, but also might slide down to 9. So we'll see where they go with that. And there's been some talk about training up, and that's okay. I think it's fine with them training up, especially if Ed Oliver, Quinnen Williams, then you have Josh Allen. If he slides down the draft board, the Bills could be interested in training up. I think the one area where I wouldn't be so happy is if they lose their first round pick for the 2020 draft. I'm never in favor of a team doing that, losing a first round pick, even if the guy is going to be really good. So I would not trade up, especially in this draft, but you never know if a guy like Josh Allen or Quinnen Williams slides down the draft board, they may strike. So that's defensive tackle. Now, receiver is another story. Receiver is interesting. I think in this draft, the Bills are going to get a lot of skill players to surround Josh Allen with as many weapons as possible. And obviously, they have this offseason signed players that will provide weapons for Josh Allen. They've signed Cole Beasley, they've signed John Brown, they even signed TJ Yeldon, the running back from the Jaguars, just yesterday. So there are weapons there that he could use. And then you have holdovers like Zay Jones and Robert Foster that could be in the mix for that wide receiver job. But I do believe that they will target receivers in the draft. Players like A.J. Brown, Marquise Brown, and other skill receivers as well could come into play, especially as we get into the second or third rounds. I think that's where you're going to see the Bills selecting skill players, and I think they need a receiver that is tall and can catch. I think that's the main thing. And if they can get a receiver that can separate from the defender really easily, that could be really good. And speed as well. You can never have enough speed. And if they can get a couple of those in the second and third rounds, I think that'll really improve the Bills' offense. And we could go down to tight end. Tight end could be really that dark horse pick that the Bills could have at number 9. And I wouldn't be so surprised that with the receiver and tight end positions, the Bills could move down a couple spots between the 10 and 15 pick range in the first round to select a receiver like a DK Metcalf. He's big, strong, physical. Reminds me a little bit like Eric Moulds, who could be that big physical specimen for Josh Allen down the field. And he could take a couple years to develop, but that's okay because the Bills have John Brown, but also have Robert Foster as their weapons. They actually have a lot of good skilled players now that this offense could be something this season. Now, for tight end, that could be another thing. The Bills have never had an all-around great tight end in their entire history. I mean, we're talking about 60 years, and the best tight end in Bills history is probably Pete Metzelaars, maybe Keith McKellar, and you could say most recently Scott Chandler, or they just have never had that game-breaking tight end. And there are 2 game-breaking tight ends, and maybe 3 in here that could help the Bills, and one that could be available in the second round. You have Noah Fant and TJ Hawkinson, and both are really good pass catchers that could really help Josh Allen out, especially in those intermediate 10 to 20-yard range. Noah Fant is your prototypical tight end, big, strong, and he catches everything. I mean, I've been impressed with his highlights, and he could be a really good pick for the Buffalo Bills. But T.J. Hawkinson is another tight end that could be in the Bills' favor, especially at number 9. Now, will they pick a tight end? I doubt it, because I just don't see the Bills really falling in love with a tight end at the number 9 pick. But T.J. Hawkinson is a good blocker. He's more of a blocker than Noah Fant, and he could also really catch the ball. And he's a good run-after-catch receiver as well. So I think the Bills could go in that avenue as well. So the tight ends are interesting. And then there's another tight end that could be available in the second round in Irv Smith Jr. He's a tight end from Alabama, and he's also a good pass catcher. And he could really help the Bills down the field as well. So there's a lot of avenues that the Bills could take in this NFL draft, and they have signed about 16 free agents, which is impressive, and 14 of those 16 players have all been offense. So obviously the Bills heard the rumblings late last season and changed their entire offense to make Josh Allen successful this year, and which is important. And I think that's where really they're going to go in this draft for the most part. I will not be surprised if they go defense with their first overall pick, especially if Ed Oliver is there. But they could also go the last need that they have, which really have been solved with all their offensive linemen that they signed this season. But they also could go offensive tackle, which is Jonah Williams, and in my opinion, he's really the best offensive lineman in this draft. He could go before the Bills, but he could also slide down to their pick. And if he's there and Ed Oliver is not, I would pick him because the Bills do need some offensive tackle help, and he could be a day one starter from the get-go, and he could be on your offensive line for a long time because he is that good of a offensive lineman. He blocks well. He blocks well. He just plows people over sometimes, and that could be a really, really good pick for the Bills. So like I said, this draft, the Bills could go anywhere they want. I don't see them drafting a running back after, especially in day 3, after they sign TJ Yeldon. I truly believe that will be a pick next year when LaShawn McCoy and Frank Gore goes elsewhere, because LaShawn McCoy's contract is up this year, and obviously Frank Gore just signed for a 1-year deal, and then TJ Yeldon signed for 2 years. So you would presume that TJ Yeldon would fulfill the running back duties next year with a rookie running back next year. So I don't see them drafting a running back this year, but again, you never know. They could go in possibly different ways, but I would say after day 1 into day 2 and 3, that's where the Bills are going to strike at a lot of the offensive players in this draft. And there are good offensive players. There are good receivers and also good tight ends that could help them this season, because I truly believe that the Bills will have a successful season this year. Their offense will improve and their defense will be about the same as they were last year, especially if they get one of the better defensive tackles in this draft. So, as always, go Bills and enjoy the draft on Thursday. It should be really exciting. Until next time, goodbye.